Welcome back to the channel, guys. So we just got back from about an 8-hour drive round trip. Went up and picked up a new addition to the watercraft fleet. So what we ended up purchasing is this guy right here, and it is a 1995 SeaDoo Speedster. Missing a lot of the decals on the side here. Well, actually all of them, really. Which isn't the end of the world. I really don't care. Got some of the decals here on the back that kind of show what it is. The important thing though is it is the Speedster and not the Sportster. And the big difference between the two is the Speedster has 2 engines, whereas the Sportster only had 1. So basically what they are is just 2 jet ski engines that are side by side, each got their own pump. And with the Sportster you only had 1, which is a little underpowered in my opinion for a boat this size. Granted, it's not a massive boat, but still, it's about 1,200 pounds. And I believe these had around 650cc engines in them. I'm going to have to look for sure once I actually start tearing into this thing. Not super familiar with SeaDoos in general. I've had one, and if you guys are longtime followers of the channel, you know how that one turned out. However, I've been wanting one of these Speedsters for quite a few years, and this one finally came up and was just too good of a deal to pass up. Way too good a shape. The big thing I look at when I'm buying a boat or the jet skis in general is mainly the hull, because that's what's going to cost you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of hours to repair if it's all damaged. And with this thing, I was expecting at the very least that up here on this point of the bow that it would have some chipping or something, and everything you're seeing on here is pretty much just scuffs or dirt. So there's absolutely 0 chips or any other sort of damage to this thing, which is honestly pretty amazing considering that it's a 30-year-old boat at this point. Even after the guy had told me that the hull was in good shape, I was still somewhat skeptical because in general I've found that people on Marketplace don't always disclose everything that they know about whatever it is that they're selling. If they're selling it, a lot of times it's for a reason. But this guy ended up being, he was spot on with how he described the boat. There was nothing wrong with the hull whatsoever. Really the only issues that it has is it's got 2 motors, like I said. One motor fires up instantly. He showed me when I was at his house. The thing fires up better than any of my jet skis. It's almost instantaneous with how quickly it fires up. The other motor, he said that he took it out on the lake twice since he had it. Second time he took it out, the port side motor ended up dying as he was like midway across the lake, and he got it back to shore, tried starting it, and it just turns over very slowly, which he showed me. It's not a battery issue. He put brand new batteries in it, getting plenty of juice. So the only things I can figure that might be going on with it, potentially there's a super corroded cable going to the starter, so it's just not giving it a ton of juice because the batteries are brand new. Or else I was thinking possibly there is something hung up in the shaft going to the jet pump, because I've had that happen on, well, the Polaris. If you guys watched that video, I ended up getting the ratchet strap wrapped around there and the thing would not run for crap just because it was all bound up. So that's a possibility. Otherwise, worst case scenario, there may be something damaged with the motor. The good thing is that it does turn over, albeit very slowly, but either way, we know it's not 100% locked up, which could mean worse than just a top end. So that's going to take some diving into. Aside from that though, I'll go ahead and show you around this thing and show you what all I do know needs done with it. So these Speedsters could haul, I believe, 5 people. They got 3 nice seats here in the back. Obviously those things are pretty well destroyed. At least there's no massive chunks of foam missing. Over there, there is a little bit missing kind of out of that seat, but I think I can reupholster these myself. If not, I'll have them reupholstered. I don't think they can be too much harder than the jet ski seats that I've reupholstered in the past. But yeah, anyway, 3 seats here in the back, and then you could probably squeeze 2 people up here on this front little kind of pad. Stepping into the actual boat, obviously here is where the driver will sit, or the captain if we want to be really weird about it. And then down here you got your fuel shutoffs. Up on the dash we got a fuel gauge. There is a speedometer, and then you got a tack for either side motor. This, any of you guys that are familiar with jet skis will probably notice, looks like a jet ski cowling or whatever you want to call it. Got a mirror on either side. This flips up You can put tools, fire extinguisher, any other odds and ends that you want to throw up in there. Over here we got starters for either motor, there's where your kill switch goes, individual chokes, bilge pump, a fan for the engine compartment, and then you got your navigation because, well, your navigation lights I should say, because it does have a little light up there in the front. And then here in the back is where the pull goes for the stern side marker light. Aside from that, there's your key. There's another hole back here, which I'm not really sure what went there. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research. Then over here on the far right is your controls. Obviously, throttle lever for either side motor. And then your, I guess you, for lack of better words, call it a shifter. You got reverse, neutral, and forward. It is pretty cool that these have neutral. That's something I haven't got to experience with any of the jet skis because as soon as you fire them up, they're basically moving. Only other really things to show you inside the boat, you got a speaker over here and a speaker down under here. They're nice, well, I'm sure they were nice at the time anyway, Pioneer marine grade speakers. We'll probably end up having to replace those, even if they do work, because they're probably just going to be terrible sound. And then underneath this little compartment here is the sound system deck. So that thing is probably fairly old. I don't even know if it has Bluetooth, but either way, that's something that can be dealt with and upgraded for sure. Nice singled in setup, so that'll be very easy to swap. This cover here, you can see, kind of broke. It chipped off the fiberglass there. It sits on there, but as soon as you go to lift it up, it just instantly comes off. So something that we can probably fix. It looks like this whole piece can come off, and I bet I can get a replacement for that. Aside from that, there's cup holders there, a couple in the front, one on either side. This compartment here does open up. There's an anchor, some storage space. Pretty nasty in there, but to be expected. Looks about like the inside of any of my jet skis. One nice thing it does have is before I went to purchase this thing, I was kind of looking at what cosmetic stuff would cost, and any of you guys that have followed my channel for a while know that I've done traction mats on pretty much all my jet skis, replacing them just because they get worn out. But this one, these are actually pretty new. Definitely don't need replaced, and they are from Blacktip Jet Sports, so they're definitely aftermarket. Very good traction mats that should last quite a while longer. So that saves me about $400 to $500 right there. So coming back to this hatch here, this guy opens up. We're going to be kind of careful with it because this guy here is supposed to keep it from opening too far, but it's broke, and it makes this lean back a little too far, and you can, well, when this is closed you can see, but there's some chipping on the fiberglass, unfortunately, which is not great. But I pretty much guarantee that this strut can be purchased for very cheap. So there's the stern light there. This whole thing moves out of the way, and there is our two inboard power plants. Like I said, I'm not 100% certain what size these motors are, but we will definitely find out here before too long. So over here on the far side is our oil indicator. These do still have the factory oil pumps, which I definitely do plan to keep. I just personally have never had any issues with the oil pumps going bad other than the Polaris. And that was toasted when I got it, and we ended up replacing it, obviously, with that triple outlet. So there's our oil fill right there. This thing is definitely dirty inside, but I'm not seeing like tremendous amounts of oil leakage anywhere, which is obviously a good thing. There's the main electrical box up here. And this guy told me there was a battery for each motor, but I'm seeing one right there. Didn't see one on the other side, but I could have missed it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that other battery would be, which really makes me, I don't know. I'm going to have to trace out these wires because that really makes me think that there may be some sort of resistance issue that's causing one of the motors to not get enough juice. I think that knob over there is a disconnect for the batteries, but I'm not 100% sure. Something I'll have to research. Right here on the trunk, for lack of better words, is where the chipping I was talking about, if I can get the camera to focus, but there's a little chipping going on here on the back edge. That can be fixed though. All the chipping that is on the hull, like we got, this is probably the other worst part of chipping that this hull has, and it's all on the top, so it's nothing that's too crazy. Main thing I was obviously worried about was the underside of the hull, and that all appears to be perfect. This trailer is actually in really nice shape too. I don't think this boat was ever in salt water. The trailer, yeah, it has some rust there on that cross member, and I mean some surfaced rust here on the front, but the wiring, well, the lights don't work anyway. I think it's a wiring issue because there was kind of torn up wires all on this. Looks like multiple splices, not ideal. So I'll definitely be going through that and should be able to get that sorted out pretty easy. Other than that though, guys, I think this should be a pretty sweet boat. My main goal with it was to be able to actually try out some wakeboarding, some water skiing, and I think this boat's going to be pretty capable of it. Like I was saying, I believe they're around 170 horsepower, so that's more than capable to pull a skier. I do have the key here, so I'll go ahead and fire up the one motor just so you guys can see how easily it fires up. It's interesting, you got a key and then a normal kill switch tether like that you'd have on the jet skis. But I think if I remember right, it's the starboard side motor that fires. Nope, that's the one that does not. You can kind of hear it though. Just very, very slowly it turns over. So not locked up, but not great. And so must be the port side motor that does start. Yeah, like I said, guys, it fires up instantly. It's by far the easiest starting watercraft motor that we've got around here. None of the jet skis could even dream of starting that fast. So whatever's going on with that one, it is dialed in for sure. Now, if we can just get the other one doing the same, we'll be in pretty good shape. So like I was saying, I did buy this thing with the full intent that I may have to rebuild one of the motors. Not the end of the world if I do. And I'm really not too concerned about getting this thing out on the water this year. I figured it'd be a great winter project. If any of you guys have ever had one of these boats and have had issues like I'm having with one of the motors cranking over slowly, make sure to drop a comment and give me some pointers, because definitely new to these particular boats. The other thing is, since it's a boat, obviously we have to name it because it would be kind of criminal not to. So I'm thinking that we'll name it the Joker because of the green and purple. And since I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to Batman and Joker and everything, and Joker's probably my favorite villain of all time, I think it would be a good name for it. If you guys do have any different ideas though for a name, make sure to let me know. And other than that, make sure you're subscribed because you're going to want to see how this thing turns out. We'll catch you guys in the next one.